Josh Allen, I wouldn't say he has a defensive mindset, but
he has I'm going to run through you like a
contact. I'm sure he wouldn't, but he'd do it.
Quarterback in the league. Josh Allen, the best quarterback in the league. Yeah.
Iowa, and he stunk it up. I watched at Boise State, and he stunk it up. I did not watch Oregon at home, and he stunk it up. So those are the three decent teams on his schedule, and he wasn't on a very good team himself, but I saw 1 touchdown and 5 interceptions.
It seems like every season it's the Buffalo Bills' year to win it all, and Josh Allen comes into the year as a contender for MVP. Welcome to American Baller, where we focus on all things NFL. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell for future videos. Neither of those have yet to occur, and it has caused many to begin to ask, just how good is he really? For years, Allen has held firm in being considered a top 3 to 5 quarterback, but is that accurate? Today, we'll take a look at his entire football life from when he got his start all the way through how he's played in the 2024 season to answer the question of how good is Josh Allen really? Childhood/high school. Allen was born on May 21st, 1996 in Firebaugh, California to Joel and LaVon Allen. Both his parents had a background in farming, and the family grew up on a 3,000-acre cotton farm. He grew up a fan of Fresno State and did everything in his power to get a scholarship from his dream school. He attended camps, and his dad even spoke with Bulldogs head coach Tim DeRuyter to give his son a chance. In high school, he was a 3-sport athlete playing football, basketball, and baseball. However, it didn't take long for it to become very clear that football was Allen's true calling. He took over as the starting quarterback of Firebaugh High School midway through his sophomore year, and he didn't look back. In his senior season, he began to turn heads, throwing for 3,061 yards, 33 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions. Interestingly, Allen was not only an elite talent on the football field. Growing up on a farm molded him into thriving in the Future Farmers of America program. He went on to rank top 4 in the nation in diversified crop production of cantaloupe, cotton, and wheat in his senior year. College recruitment. However, even this impressive stat line on the gridiron was not enough for him to receive a scholarship from Fresno State. In fact, Allen completely flew under the radar of almost every single Division I program in the entire country. He was an unranked prospect by ESPN and only received a scholarship from Wyoming, where he wound up committing. College career. Despite receiving a scholarship from Wyoming, Allen still had to earn his stripes on the team. His freshman year, he spent almost the entire year on the bench. He only saw the field in 2 games and threw 6 passes, completing 4 of them for 51 yards. Following his lack of attention on the recruiting trail paired with a disappointing season, the NFL was a pipe dream for Allen. However, in his sophomore year, he would begin to make magic. He made his first career start in the opening week of the 2016 season when Wyoming took on Northern Illinois. He had a very impressive showing, especially with it being his first true taste of football at the collegiate level. He finished the game with 245 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks through the air, along with 70 yards and a score on the ground in a tight 40-34 win. However, after this great debut, life came at Allen and the Cowboys quickly. In Week 2, they took on a Nebraska team that they had no business playing. Allen's inexperience was taken advantage of, and this game arguably still stands as the worst in his entire football career. Nebraska's defense had him in an absolute bag, and he could not get anything going through the air or on the ground. He finished the contest completing only 16 of his 32 passing attempts for 189 yards, a touchdown, and an insane 5 interceptions. Along with this, he was held to only 7 rushing yards on 7 attempts. Wyoming was clearly outmatched in this game, and the final score reflected this, with the Cowboys falling by a final score of 52-17. While this devastating matchup could have been more than enough to rattle a young quarterback's confidence, leading them to never really bounce back, this was not the case for Allen. He had an incredible second half of the season, throwing for 1,647 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions in the final 6 games of the regular season. This was a complete turnaround from the player that took on the Cornhuskers just mere months earlier. Not only was he playing extremely well individually, his ability to get the offense moving through the air and on the ground was leading to team success as well. Wyoming finished with an 8-5 record heading into bowl season. In the bowl game, they took on BYU in what went on to be a very hard-fought game on both sides. However, when the final whistle sounded, Allen and the Cowboys came up just short, falling by a final score of 24-21. Despite the season ending on a sour note, this was an extremely promising year. However, even this early in his career, trends in this game that have stuck with him to this day have begun to show themselves. He threw for 3,203 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 15 interceptions, leading the Mountain West Conference in both passing touchdowns and interceptions. Even today, Allen has gained a reputation for taking risks through the air, leading to him being very apt to throwing picks. His junior year got off to a slow start, once again taking on a Big Ten opponent, this time the Iowa Hawkeyes. In this contest, he was held to only 174 yards while throwing 2 picks in a 24-3 loss. Just 2 weeks later, they were forced to take on another Power 5 opponent in the Oregon Ducks. Once again, playing against a higher caliber defense than he was used to got the best of Allen, struggling for 64 yards and an interception while only completing 37.5% of his passes. Despite struggling against Power 5 schools, he was beating up on teams much closer in skill to Wyoming. However, toward the tail end of the regular season, Allen suffered a sprained AC joint in his throwing shoulder that forced him to miss the final 2 games of the regular season. Despite this, the Cowboys were still able to make a bowl game with a 7-5 record. This time, they took on Central Michigan, and Allen was able to make a return to action. He showed out, throwing for 154 yards and 3 touchdowns on only 19 passing attempts. Wyoming went on to win by a final score of 37-14 in what went on to be Allen's final game at the school. In his send-off season, he recorded 1,812 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Scouting report/draft day. Leading up to the draft, scouts were not entirely sure what to make out of Allen. He had the skill set to become a truly elite quarterback in the NFL, however, he was a very raw and unproven prospect who struggled to perform against above-average collegiate defenses, let alone NFL-caliber units. Despite this, it was clear that his cannon for an arm, paired with his ability to get the job done on the ground, were things he possessed that you simply can't teach. If he landed with the right coaching staff who could develop him into the player he had the potential many knew he could be, many thought Allen could be a truly special talent. He was drawing comparisons to players like Ben Roethlisberger. The Buffalo Bills wound up rolling the dice on Allen, using the 7th overall pick in the 2018 draft to add what they hoped would be the future of their franchise to the roster. NFL career. The Bills fully knew what they were getting themselves into when they selected Allen with the 7th overall pick. He was never going to be a player who was pro-ready after playing for Wyoming. It would take some time for him to adjust to the game at the NFL level. However, if he was developed the right way, he had the traits of a truly special player. He saw his first action in Week 1 of the 2018 season. With the Bills already facing a massive deficit, they threw him in during garbage time to get some reps. While this was not the most impressive showing by any means, Allen finished his debut with 74 yards on 15 passing attempts. However, this was enough to sell the coaching staff on giving him his first career start the following week against the Los Angeles Chargers. Once again, he struggled, but there were some bright points. He ended the contest with 245 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks in a 31-20 loss. Outside of 4 games he spent sidelined with an injury, he continued to serve as the Bills starter for the remainder of the season. While it was not always pretty by any means, it was obvious that he was quickly improving, throwing for 224 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception in the final game of the regular season. He kept up this momentum in the 2019 season and looked like an entirely different player. He had truly turned the Bills around in an extremely short window. Along with this, he quickly learned how to read and pick apart NFL defenses. He finished the 2019 regular season with 3,089 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 9 picks. It's difficult to state just how much he improved compared to his rookie season, in which he threw for more interceptions than touchdowns. Along with this, he led the Bills to a 10-6 record as a starter, earning the first playoff berth of his career. In the wild-card round, the Bills took on the Houston Texans in what went on to be an overtime thriller. While the Bills were narrowly defeated in overtime by a final score of 22-19, you could not have asked much more out of Allen this season, and it appeared like the Bills had finally found their franchise quarterback. quarterback. Allen had arguably the best year of his career up to this point in 2020. He set career highs in passing yards and passing touchdowns with 4,554 and 37 respectively. Along with this, he only threw 10 picks and led the Bills to a 13-3 record. This earned him the first Pro Bowl appearance of his career, along with the spot on the All-Pro second team, and he even came in second place in the MVP voting. It appeared this could be their year after taking down the Indianapolis Colts and Baltimore Ravens en route to the AFC Championship. However, they ran into Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs and were sent home by a final score of 38-24. Allen put together another very strong showing in the 2021 season, throwing for 4,407 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 15 picks. Shockingly, this wasn't enough to get him into the Pro Bowl. For the second year in a row, Allen was sent home by the Chiefs, this time in an overtime thriller. This game was an absolute shootout, but Buffalo couldn't keep up with Kansas City and fell by a final score of 42-36 in the divisional round. In 2022, he made a return to the Pro Bowl on the back of a 4,283-yard and 35-touchdown year through the air. Once again, he led the Bills to an elite 13-3 record. Despite finishing in third place in MVP voting, Allen didn't make a single All-Pro team. They were once again stopped in the divisional round, this time at the hands of Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals by a final score of 27-10. Last season, Allen had a bit of a down year by his standards. There was clear dysfunction in Buffalo's locker room, and star wide receiver who aided in Allen's development, Stephon Diggs, clearly didn't want to be there. Despite this, the Bills were still able to make it to the divisional round, where they were knocked out of the playoffs for the third time in 4 years by the Chiefs. What's next for Josh Allen? Thus far through the season, Allen has done an incredible job making the most out of his current wide receiver room. The departure of Diggs in the offseason left the Bills without a truly elite weapon. However, Allen has already thrown for 945 yards and 8 touchdowns through 5 games. Most impressively, he still has yet to throw a single pick. He's proven time and time again that he is a one-man army on offense. It doesn't matter what weapons he has around him, he will find a way to get it done. This is a very underrated trait and one that you only see from the best of the best at the position. How good is Josh Allen actually? Josh Allen is one of the most talented quarterbacks that the league has to offer. He's proven year after year that there are few who can do what he does on the gridiron, both through the air and on the ground. While he has yet to see the playoff success of some of his contemporaries, with Allen at the helm, the Bills will continue to pose a threat to any team in the postseason. Thank you for tuning in to American Baller. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell for future videos.